three-dimensional thrust vectoring, internal missile bays twice the length of the F-35, and a unit cost under $50 million. The Su-57 carries a long-range air-to-air missile the F-35 physically cannot fit inside its own weapons bay in any configuration. Most assume Russia built a cheaper copy of the F-35, but the Felon was engineered around an entirely different combat doctrine. This film breaks down what Sukhoi built, and where the Su-57 holds clear advantages over the F-35 in categories that rarely make Western headlines. The program began in 2002 as PAK FA, a clean-sheet fifth-generation fighter built to replace the entire Su-27 family. Sukhoi engineers put raw flight performance first, designing an airframe meant to outmaneuver any fighter ever built in close-range combat. Stealth was a feature rather than the core design principle, setting the Felon apart from every other fifth-generation program. First flight came in 2010 as the T-50, making Russia one of only 3 nations on Earth to produce a fifth-generation combat fighter. Serial production started in 2019, and the first combat-ready Felons entered active duty with Russian frontline squadrons the next year. Russia became only the second nation on Earth to field a fully domestic fifth-generation fighter, in active service with frontline squadrons. Combat employment began in 2022, with the Felon launching long-range standoff missiles from protected airspace with 0 losses in flight. Algeria signed on in 2025, making the Su-57 the first Russian stealth fighter ever sold to a foreign air force. The deal broke a barrier no previous Russian stealth program ever crossed, and opened the door for new buyers already in active talks. Russia priced the Su-57 below every Western fifth-generation fighter currently on the global market, the cheapest stealth combat aircraft of its class. Understanding why Sukhoi built this fighter requires going inside an architecture engineered around capabilities the F-35 program never prioritized. The Su-57 uses a wide, blended wing body with widely spaced engines, creating more internal volume than any other fifth-generation fighter. That volume makes room for 2 tandem internal weapons bays, running the full length of the lower fuselage, between the engine nacelles on each side. The main bays accept the R-37M missile with a stated range above 300 kilometers, something no F-35 variant can match. That missile reaches targets roughly 100 kilometers beyond the range of the AIM-120D, the F-35's longest internal weapon. The Byelka radar combines a nose-mounted AESA array with 2 side antennas, giving angular coverage far wider than any fixed forward system. 2 L-band arrays sit inside the wing leading edges, designed to detect stealth aircraft that defeat shorter radar waves, including the F-35. No other fifth-generation fighter carries a counter-stealth radar, giving the Su-57 a detection edge designed against Western low-observable platforms. The 101 KS Atoll combines infrared search and missile warning into a passive sensor stack covering the full sphere around the airframe. Passive infrared tracking matters because it emits nothing. The Su-57 follows a target without ever revealing its own position to enemy radar screens. The same sensor suite includes a laser module that actively blinds incoming heat-seeking missiles, a built-in last line of defense. Three-dimensional thrust vectoring lets the Felon point its nose anywhere in a close-range dogfight, holding angles no F-35 can reach in combat. Post-stall control lets the Su-57 fly at extreme nose-high angles without losing command of the aircraft, beyond what standard fighters sustain. The F-35 was never built for close-range dogfighting. Its entire doctrine treats air combat as a long-range detection and launch problem. If the Su-57 forces emerge, it holds a turning advantage that no stealth-shaped airframe can answer. The geometry belongs to the Felon. The design bets on 2 things: long-range missiles that outreach the F-35 and close-range agility that no stealth fighter can match in a turning fight. If you want to understand the systems shaping fifth-generation air combat, subscribe to this channel. 1 platform per film. But the single most underrated advantage of the Su-57 is not its sensors or missiles. It is the price tag per airframe. Russia officially prices the Su-57 at roughly $35 million per airframe, less than half the cost of a single F-35A today. Western analysts put the real price near $50 million per unit, still cheaper than any Western fifth-generation rival in production. A buyer can acquire 2 Felons for the price of a single F-35A, doubling the fleet size without adding a single dollar to the defense budget. That price tag explains why Algeria signed on in 2025. and why several new buyers are already in advanced talks for their own Felons. Russian industry sources project the Su-57 will become the second most exported fifth-generation fighter on Earth by the end of this decade. Current jets use the AL-41F1 from the Su-35S, a mature power plant with hundreds of flight hours in active service. The next-generation engine, known as Izdeliye 30, is in late-stage testing, promising sustained supercruise and a major jump in raw thrust. When Izdeliye 30 enters service, the Su-57 gains supercruise. No F-35 variant has ever reached. The F-35 program cost $2 trillion over 25 years, weighed down by software delays and the thermal limits of a single-engine airframe. Russia built a fifth-generation fighter at a fraction of that cost, matching the F-35 in combat categories that decide real engagements. For most air forces outside NATO, the deciding factor is price, and the Su-57 is their only fifth-generation option on the market. That market position gives Russia a strategic foothold in the global fighter trade, a price point no Western competitor and no other nation can challenge. The real win is not beating the F-35 on paper. It is putting fifth-generation power into the hands of nations the F-35 will never reach. Combat validation began with live KH-59 Mk2 and KH-69 strikes against defended ground targets. The KH-69 is a new-generation stealth cruise missile, terrain-hugging flight path, precision strike out to 500 kilometers, built for the Felon. The missile's stealth shaping matches the Su-57's radar profile, making the pair harder to spot than older strike packages. Russia fielded these weapons on the Felon during active combat operations, with 0 aircraft losses in flight across every single reported sortie. No Su-57 has ever been shot down in air combat, a record matched only by the F-35 among modern fifth-generation fighters. The passive sensor suite proved effective under real combat conditions, tracking targets without emitting any signal an enemy radar could detect. Russian pilots flew long-range standoff strikes from protected airspace, a launch profile that preserves the airframe while delivering full combat effect. Preserving fifth-generation jets is what every serious Air Force does with its best assets, including every U.S. F-22 squadron. The Su-57 follows that same doctrine. Each airframe treated as a strategic asset, not a tool you throw into a fight and lose. Compare this to the F-35, which flew thousands of sorties without its first manned air-to-air kill until March 2026 over Tehran. Both platforms prove that fifth-generation fighters rarely see close combat, because the entire architecture was designed to avoid it. Avoiding close combat is the point, not a failure, and both platforms execute that doctrine with precision in their own theaters of war. The Su-57 has accumulated more air-launched cruise missile combat experience than any F-35 variant in service anywhere on Earth today. That combat data feeds directly into future upgrades, giving Sukhoi engineers real-world feedback no F-35 program can pull from peacetime flying. Real combat feedback is the rarest resource any fighter program gets, and the Su-57 receives it on every mission it flies. Russia's official plan calls for 76 Su-57s by the end of 2028, the largest fifth-generation fleet buildup outside of NATO. Production is ramping up through 2026 as the main plant at Komsomolsk-on-Amur expands assembly lines and adds new workers. The two-seat Su-57M is now in development, designed to command the S-70 Okhotnik stealth drone through a direct combat data link. The S-70 Okhotnik is a 20-ton flying wing combat drone, carrying internal weapons and operating as a loyal wingman under Felon control. This manned-unmanned teaming concept puts Russia beside the United States and China, all three building sixth-generation combat power right now. The Izdeliye 30 engine will unlock sustained supercruise and thrust-to-weight numbers beyond any Western fighter in active service. With R-77M and R-37M missiles, the upgraded Felon will hold edges the F-35 cannot close through any software update. Export talks keep building through 2026, with several Middle Eastern and Asian air forces in advanced stages of new Su-57 deals. Russia pitched the Felon as the fighter that gives regional powers fifth-generation access, without the political strings tied to every F-35 deal. No American export deal ships without end-use controls and software locks, terms many sovereign buyers reject on principle. The Su-57 offers full software access and local weapons freedom. The buyer owns and controls every single line of code running on the jet. That freedom matters, A fighter no foreign power can shut down or restrict stays a real tool of national defense under the operator's own flag. The Felons' bet on kinematics and long-range missiles is paying off, as the global market shifts away from American fighter dominance. Russia built a fifth-generation fighter at a fraction of the American cost and delivered it to the first foreign export customer outside of the NATO alliance. The next documentaries will walk through Russia's entire flagship fleet and every major combat system the Russian military built to fight.